You are listening to the Neurocareers Doing the Impossible podcast with Dr. K, episode number 23. Dear Neurocareers podcast listeners, we have a very unique guest today. We have Manvi Jain from the Albak Education Institute in Agra, India. And Manvi just graduated with her bachelor's from Cognitive Neuroscience program. And this is something very new and unique in India. And Manvi will be sharing her unique experience with you. And actually, cognitive neuroscience is not only a unique experience that Manvi already acquired, but also, she will share with you something that is called cognitive design and something that she also aspires to become a cognitive designer. So, and much, much more. So, welcome, Manvi. It's a great pleasure to have you on our podcast. Thank you very much for coming. Can you please introduce yourself and tell where exactly are you joining us from in India?
Yeah, so my name is Manvi Jain, and I just got my bachelor's degree in cognitive neuroscience. And it's been a great journey. I have enjoyed everything that I've learned right now. And mainly what I have learned, what I've developed as skills has got me here on this very platform today. So I'm grateful for everything. Presently, I'm at my home. I took leave from my work for this very interview, and I was really excited about it. And I've come to my home, which is in India, and I come from a town called Kanpur, which is in Uttar Pradesh in India.
Thank you very much, Manvi, for this wonderful introduction. And can you tell us more about this cognitive neuroscience program? I know you mentioned to me that this is something very new in India. Not many people know about cognitive neuroscience. So, what influenced your decision to become a cognitive neuroscientist, and how did you like this program? What do you think of it right now when you already graduated?
I really love the program. I really love the syllabus that they have created for the program. It includes almost everything that one should know about the, interdisciplinary nature of the field. It includes psychology mainly, it includes neuroscience, and it also includes computational aspects of it. For example, some programming languages are being taught there, and we're also introduced to the different concepts of artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and machine learning, and everything from the scratch, so that later on, if you want to use any of the concepts in any of our projects, we can go for it without any hesitation. So that is the wholesome nature of the program's curriculum that has been set by the university. Along with that, some other universities in India also have this program, but at the master's level, ours is very, new in bringing it at the bachelor's level. One thing about my university specifically is that they provide you right from the first year of your bachelor's a lot of research opportunities, and many consciousness based conferences are very common in our university because we as a group of believers follow consciousness based research from different aspects, say spiritual or say psychological and mathematical. So there are a lot of opportunities for one to present their work and also for one to carry out the work that they love with proper guidance. So that's one thing that has attracted me to this program, and I highly recommend it to anybody who is even slightly interested in the field anyhow. And one thing about the field, anywhere the in the world, if one is interested in any one of the aspects of the field, say mathematical, um, you know aspect of cognitive science, in the sense, if you want to study the brain from a mathematical perspective, cognitive science is for you. If you want to study the brain from a consciousness based perspective or psychological perspective, again, cognitive neuroscience or cognitive science is for you. And of course, if neuroscience is your main field, then cognitive neuroscience makes the best combination of a neuroscientist, a physicist, and a mathematical brain. So, yeah, everything just sums up and brings down and boils down to the point where you can wholly focus on studying you know, the integrate and the abstract aspects of the brain. Along with that, you also mentioned cognitive design. Do you want me to go further and talk about cognitive design?
Maybe a little bit later we can talk about the cognitive design because right now you mentioned different aspects of cognitive neuroscience, and I became very curious. What aspect of cognitive neuroscience did you specifically choose to specialize in?
So, psychological aspect and, of course, neuroscientific perspective. Both these, when together brought on the table, gives the focus of my research. So, main studies that I have carried out till date have focused on how different processes going on in the mind or the abstract part of the brain affect a person's being, affect a person's daily activities, and how they can make them a better person. For example, one of the studies that one of the first studies of mine, which was the empirical work, was focused on how meditation affects our brain, and not long term meditation. In fact, I took very short term meditation, which is not very difficult to carry out, right? It was a very short term meditation, and I wanted to see the effect of that 10-minute session of meditation on the brain. And honestly, when I analyzed the results, when I saw that attention was really affected for us as humans after very brief periods of meditation, I started to believe in it personally. And yeah, so that was a very interesting result that I had gotten, and that gave me the way to drive my further research projects. And till date, I have been working on such aspects only, where I see how psychological interventions, or say psychological habits of one, affects their brain in long term, also in short term. So, as we call that, effects of psychological intervention on state and trait effect, having state and trait effect, right? So, yeah, that is something that I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I think in India, there is a very strong background for meditative practices. There is a lot of potential to conduct studies and really get the evidence-based information about meditation and practices like that. Very good. Manvi, I'm very curious. If we get to your childhood, to your past, where did you see yourself when you grow up? Did it align in any possible way with what you are doing right now?
That's really a good question. In fact, I'm reflecting back on the days and I'm seeing it happening now. I didn't look at it anyway, that way however. But yeah, I remember my, family telling me that I have a curious mind and I will become a scientist one day. So I had that in mind forever, that I have to be a doctor, Manvi, right? That was always inside me. Now that doctor was either medical or this, I never had an idea. But now things are turning up another way out. I also had a passion to be a software engineer, because somehow my father wanted to become an engineer. But given the circumstances, he is now a great, practitioner in chemistry and those kind of sciences, where he has his own business where they produce batteries, lead acid batteries. But I saw him learning everything on his own without any degree, and that is what is my motivation till date. And he still encourages me to not pursue a master's degree right now when I can, but to follow my passion. Now, after bachelor's, I have been offered multiple projects and multiple arenas, and he is still giving me the liberty to choose them over, traditional degrees. So he says degrees can be earned later on, but yeah, whatever I love, science. I am doing real science right now. I'm going to work for a project which focuses on treating children who are congenitally blind, but they are, treated, and now when they develop vision gradually, the project focuses on how vision development from neuroscience perspective takes place in a newly sighted child. So we map that newly sighted child vision development with the one that happens when a child is born. So that is how we are actually studying developmental neuroscience, but with substitute in the subjects, because studying subject, young infants would be really, really difficult. So we are doing with that, and that is driving me every day towards what I want to become, a researcher, a real scientist. So yeah, I think everything is going correctly the way I had imagined.
Yes, very interesting. And this brings me to a question of what additional skills you acquired during this cognitive neuroscience program. You mentioned that your dad was an example and he inspired you to study on your own in addition to whatever degree you are getting. And I think this is something you did when you started additionally learning electroencephalography, EEG. So can you tell our listeners about that?
Yeah, so I also might have mentioned before that studying EEG or electroencephalography was not a part of my curriculum as such. It was part of my co-curriculum. I, pursued the sciences of cognitive science as a research field out of my syllabus. When we were all in pandemic, we were all, forced to sit at homes. I just started to think in a way that a researcher in the field, the cognitive science field, should think. I was in conversation with my professor for like hours, and I used to think things deeply just before, when we were all forced to sit at home. But that somehow didn't stop me. I went on and created my first literature review on the topics that were really interested, I was really interested in. First one was the neuroscience of sleeping, and of course, the neuroscience of dreaming. Why we dream, how do we dream, and what we dream, how does that all make sense? All from psychological and neuroscience perspective, I took them along. And I was somehow not satisfied with the existing theories that were there for neuroscience of dreaming. So whatever was on my mind, I created down. I jotted them down in form of a model, and I tried to write a paper on it. And I submitted that paper to multiple conferences that were happening at that time. So for India Academy of Neurosciences is a very famous place where you can be, and somehow I was able to present my work there. And one of the famous neuroscientists, B. S. Ramachandran, who is in America right now, he was also speaking there, all online. But somehow I was also able to share stage with him. And I was really glad how things happened that time. I could not pursue the neuroscience of dreaming at that time because I did not have proper guidance in the field because my mentor was a physicist. But yeah, I continued with the same thrill and same passion that I'd started with. And I took special permissions to sit at the university when not all were coming at university, but situations were under control. So I used to sit like 8 hours in the university all by myself, all, alone, experimenting things out with the devices that I was given. I had given multiple software, one to create experiments, one to collect the data from the brain, the brain signals, and another to analyze those signals. So I create a chain of experiments, and I carried some experiments out and took some data and analyzed that data. And in the way, I explored myself first, that I was able to do all the computational things that I was never taught to. And one thing was, when I started out, I did not have any guidance because before me, there was no one to study them. And as I told you, in India, there are not many people who can directly teach you. And in fact, in the world, the software wasn't used by many people. So it was all signal processing and other major concepts of processing the EEG signals. But yeah, somehow with some help documents, some materials that I had collected from here and there, I tried to pull strings and create some sense out of the data. And you know what? The data came out to be beautiful. Even in spite of the fact that I was very new to the field, I couldn't even collect the data properly at that time. And now, if I look back at that time and if I look today, I've collected data of over 100 participants, and I've analyzed them and I've published studies with them. So that was the time I was struggling. I was scratching my brain. I used to go to the university every day for like 8 hours. And all the time, I'm just sitting and looking in front of the screen, and I'm like, what am I seeing? Right. So that is the time you try to, you learn to, enjoy things. What is happening with you? You're getting frustrated. Along with that, you have a feeling of pleasure that I'm doing something that is standing me apart from the world, standing me apart from my classmates at least, that are not being able to expose to, all this that is happening with me. So yeah, that is the time I learned all the skills that I have right now, and I'm still developing on them. But as you know the 80-20 rule, the 80% of the work is the work that you have to continuously sit and do, and the other 20% is the time, is the thing that you learn for your life and forever. So that is what is happening with me. I learned the 80% at that time, and now the 20% is just being continued. So that's the journey of my learning.
Yes, yes, that's beautiful. And it's so interesting that you are mentioning the neuroscience of dreaming. We just released a podcast episode just this weekend about the possibility to record and even share the dreams. And this was my former master student, Taisia Demchenko. She did some beautiful machine learning work on trying to decode the information during dreaming. So she focused on motor, imagery-based information. And now she is continuing decoding information from the dream so that we can create reports and even maybe possibly share that information or share experiences of our dreams with other people in the future. So that's as a potential option. So maybe you can connect and find some interesting points of intersection. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for telling about that. One interesting thing that you also noted after you finished your bachelor's in cognitive neuroscience, you got many proposals for the projects. So definitely this work that you've done during your bachelor's, it facilitated in a way your career opportunities. It opened many career opportunities. Can you tell more about what options became available to you and why do you think this happened? What skills made you important or valuable for potential employees?
This is a very good question. I think this is something I usually use to inspire my juniors and all the enthusiasts that come to me and are seeking guidance. I tell them to consistently work and, of course, to communicate your work, because communication is really important. This is one thing that I learned while doing all the things. While I was creating skills, developing skills, I was not able to compile all my small, works that I was doing at that time. For example, if I spoke in particular conference. Why was I doing it? I was doing it so that I could share my work with the world, and they could give me my, they could criticize my work, or they could appreciate my work, so that I know where I was going. This is a very clear example of communication. That's how I connected myself to LinkedIn, and that is where I started to compile my work. So, in the process of compiling my work and communicating it with the public, I became a person who was known for EEG in the area around me. And gradually, I found myself not bragging about my work, but just being original about it and still gaining attention. And I was able to get all those offers on my own. For example, one of the startups, neurotechnology startup, a co-founder of the company texted me 3 times on the platform, and I was not able to, make out whether they wanted me to work for them or what. But then when I graduated, I connected with them, and I got to know they actually offered me a very good job just after having a bachelor's. Unfortunately, I could not join them because I wasn't mentally prepared for it, because I had also committed to the project that I was presently a part of, and commitments are really important when you are in this field. And that is one another lesson that I tell people: whenever you commit with somebody, you should fulfill that commitment, because that's what makes you a person of honor in front of public. And of course, we are a very small community. The cognitive science enthusiasts or the cognitive science professors, academicians in India are a very small community. We all know each other somehow. We are all an integrated network. So things come to you, right? They backfire you if you do not follow your commitments. That is one thing. But yeah, network is a very strong, skill. Networking should be a very strong skill of you if you are trying to look out in a field which is new to your country, or to in fact the world. And I also attended one of the courses. So yeah, there is not much of this content available online, but there are little small initiatives that are that are being brought up by either communities or the students of the community. So one such initiative was International Youth Neuroscience Association at that time, and that was their first summer course program, where they were teaching neuroscience and skills, basics of neuroscience. But that is somewhere I also connected with international students. I got the chance to interact with them, to understand how their country perceives the field, and how our country, to share how our country perceives the field. And that's where I learned how things were gathering together. And I think the small initiatives that I took, either it is in learning or it is in sharing, that is what helped me become, ideal employee for multiple employers. So after all that happened, I got an email from one of the research scientists at MIT that I had to join this project. So that was one day when I realized that every, little step that I had taken till date was a, fulfillment of everything that happened. And it was all successful. So yeah, all small initiatives can help you go a long way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I noticed on LinkedIn, actually, I just want to tell our listeners that LinkedIn is where I found Manvi, and I invited her to join us in this podcast episode, because Manvi really was, I think, providing a very important information for people, encouraging them to learn. Manvi was talking about electroencephalography, EEG, and she was offering nice little videos. She was asking what's important for people. Is it important to learn EEG, and would they like to have more information about it? So she was looking at what is important for people, what is that they value in this field, what do they need. And then she also was providing some very nice videos. Can you tell more, Manvi, why did you decide to share this specific part of what you learned, how you did it, and what were the outcomes? Did you get what feedback did you get from people?
Sure, that was a very pleasant thing that to do, and I am really uh, sad about the fact that I could not create those videos for a long time because of somehow I am little camera conscious. When things come up that way, I'm a little conscious. But yeah, I tried my best to create good quality videos of specifically the analysis part of the EEG signals that came up. One of the motivation was I normally get LinkedIn messages about how different people different people at different ages are trying to learn this thing just because they want to explore, say, neuromarketing or maybe some clinical aspects of the brain. They're so much interested, but at the same time they're so helpless because there is no way to carry things out. And that is where I realized that there is a need for a consulting company in India where, if they come up with an idea to you, you can give them counter ideas to make that happen. And how you can collect data, you can create those data collection centers for people, and that all is really very possible. And if I were to be interested in entrepreneurship at any point of my life, I will definitely go for such a thing, and I really promote such a thing if anybody is open to doing that. So that is what maybe inspired me to do it. And then when I joined this institute, uh, before completing bachelor's, I didn't have that courage to go ahead and uh, create those videos a lot. I used to one-on-one discuss things with people and share my ideas with them how they can do it. And I've helped a lot many people with the analysis techniques of EG signals as well. But I don't think they helped a lot because studying it on my own, I gave it say 3 years, full 3 years to just explore the field. And telling somebody about the same thing that we learned in 3 years is not possible in 1 hour, right? So that's where I suggest that I can help you with your data. You give me your data, I will help you analyze it. So that was the approach that I was taking. Then I joined this institute, Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi, in India, which is actually a technology institute. And the department where taken in for the project was Department of Design. And there are many people there who are using EEG in their design projects. So that's where I also got inspiration for cognitive design. And there I saw that many people who are in their middle age, who are PhD researchers, they lack this skill, and somehow they're also hesitant to ask you for help because you're young than them. So that's where I decided, no, let's make everybody independent and try to make these skills available online so that they stay with them forever and they are not asking you again and again. So that's where I finally found the inspiration to hold a live session where I thought I will take only 10 people or 15 people, whosoever is interested, and I'll talk to them directly and I'll ask their doubts. But when I put up that post, around 100 people texted me in person that we want to join the session. And I got the chills. I was like, no, I cannot handle those many people. I'm already very much camera conscious. But then it happened. Many people joined. Many people had to back out because of their other commitments. But many people joined that day, and I talked to many people. I asked them their passion, their interest about the field. And again, there were many people saying, "Can you please take paid sessions? Can you please take anything that gives you something, but you just teach us." But that is not something that I really wanted. I didn't want to earn out of it. I just wanted to share knowledge. So I decided to finally go ahead and share everything that I was doing in routine for my own analysis project analysis. I started making videos out of them. So presently, I have a few 10 to 12 videos on my YouTube channel, which can help people who are just starting out in the field. And then I'll gradually come up to the advanced level where I have shared the advanced, skills, analysis techniques, and everything that is required by people. So yeah, that is a journey of my inspiration to process this.
That is a beautiful journey, and you can see how much in demand is all this information, and that's so beautiful that you are ready to share all of that with people. So now that you mentioned the design and participating in design projects or helping people with them, and this is how you got to know cognitive design, which is so interesting. I haven't heard about it until I met you. Can you tell us, please, what is cognitive design about? And also, what is your experience in trying it out?
Sure. So honestly, I don't think there is a word like cognitive design. It just came to me, and somebody suggested to manifest things that I wanted for myself. So I added a title of aspiring cognitive designer in my LinkedIn profile lately. I had to remove it because the space issues happened lately. But yeah, I really want to become an cognitive designer, and that is, so how do I explain it? So you take an analogy of a nature inspired designer or a biomimicry designer. What do? They take inspiration from nature. So for example, a bullet train was created with a mouth like a kingfisher, right? To avoid the air pressure. So that is something that is biomimicry. And similarly, I want to do something that mimics how your brain processes things, right? So I want to make the processes that follow after watching a design or after experiencing a design very easy for the brain to follow. For example, if we come across some problems that require some experience, some user experience kind of a thing, where nothing is the solution, just the user experience is the solution. For example, I'll give you a very basic example, but I learned it recently, and I found it the best amongst all the examples. When in America and in the developed nations, skyscrapers were newly built. They had very long route elevators, lifts. People were demanding a job to do during that time when the lift was going up the highest story. But what would the possible way to do anything in a lift? The A designer or a person who was made in charge to solve this problem came up with a very simple solution. They put up mirrors in the lifts and the elevators, and this engaged the persons traveling in the lift directly, because that is how your brain works. If you see yourself, the time goes fast. You engage yourself in maybe just creating faces, or maybe you're just making just making your hair, or anything that you're as a human you're used to. So that was a very quick solution to a very big problem that people were facing, and that was something about user experience, right? And user experience as a field in behavioral science is coming up very rapidly these days. I've also got some offers in that aspect, but I think that's very new for me, so I don't go that way. But yeah, this is really interesting how things can be solved in just with an insight, with an idea. So that's what I want to build, in myself. I want to be an insightful person who can look at the problems in a way that only a brain which is connecting with the problems, or from the heart. You solve the problems from your heart and not of an analytical, mechanical way. That's what I think cognitive design would lead us to. And yeah, I think cognitive design is the future, such as nature-based design or nature-inspired design is. MIT Media Lab has been doing something very important, taking up, from nature-inspired. So, for example, they're trying to avoid plastics, taking up something that mimics plastic, works as plastic but is not plastic. It is a biodegradable material. They have built very large structures out of that material. So that is how we want to meet the ends, but without hurting the nature. And that's what I want to do with cognitive design as well. I want to make it substantially and aesthetically proper and good. Yeah, I think that perfectly defines cognitive design.
Thank you very much, Manvi. And I know that you also tried some AI-based software for experimenting with the cognitive design projects. Can you tell more about that?
Sure. I recently shared a picture that I had created using Doll-E, which is an artificial intelligence program. I created a very simple image out of it. I just put up some words which said, a woman holding a brain with a purple background. Now, this connects to me because I am a woman. I love neuroscience and I love the color purple or lavender. So I created that image and it just came out so beautiful. It was aesthetic totally. And as I just explained cognitive design, it was a design that cognitively was pleasing to me. And I just, engaged myself with that. And that was one reason why I shared it with others so that people can also uh, so it actually helped me visualize my ideas. I just had one simple statement in my mind, and I created an image out of it. That is the beauty of that particular program, and that is what I wanted others to experience as well, and that is what is user experience too. So that is one reason why I shared it. And yeah, I think AI is a very magical tool that we have been, looking forward to. We just want more accurate programs, more morally, relevant programs, which cannot harm us anyhow, and we should not be afraid of them. And again, it can turn out to be a very beautiful tool.
Yeah, thank you, Manvi. And talking about AIs, of course, we have so much discussions in the community, neuroscience and general science technology community about that. What is your perspective on the future of cognitive neuroscience, and maybe where do you see an AI in this equation?
Sure. So I will give you a very classic example of the same. I recently came across a Nature paper which was actually a proposal by a researcher who suggested why not create an AI program that collects all the information automatically as it does about one thing or one phenomena in the brain from different perspectives. So, for example, if I talk about memory, and one person from a community or one research lab from our community has worked on neuroscientific aspect of memory and have created fMRI scans related to an experiment. Now, one other group has worked on the clinical aspect on the on that front. So AI somehow gathers information on what these two groups have done, and if those two information collide, it should gather them together, right? Now, this will help the future collaborators and future scientists to actually create a better informed research project. Now, for neuroscience, we know that collecting information, analyzing information is very easy, but how to connect the dots is really difficult. And that is only possible when you look it as a bigger picture. You look at it from bird's eye view, and that is not possible for one lab or one human. That is how so I think Human Brain Project has been running from the same perspective that we can create connections over the network from different perspectives and can make out how the brain as a whole works together, right? But that has not been very much possible. So bringing AI into the picture of working with neuroscience, especially with cognitive neuroscience, because that just not only includes the structural, it also includes the functional part of the brain and the abstract part of the brain, which we call mind. So I think that is where we should go hand in hand with AI and not worrying about the moral and ethical part because we are not creating any robots out here. But yeah, bringing together these two platforms will be really helpful. And I see a very, very bright future there. And lately, I'm also going to use machine learning algorithm in my project, which is for me is very new. And I always wonder how people can do it, bringing machine learning, which is actually a machine learning tool, bringing it to a human uh, brain project, which is like brain learning. So yeah, I think everything is going very good for our field, and as it is called, it's the brain for the it's the century of the brains. So let's see how we go on and how we can, as individuals, contribute to study of brain and neuroscience in the future.
Yes, absolutely. And here another question comes to my mind. As we are talking about future, and we are also in a podcast that is called Neurocareers Doing the Impossible. What is something that currently might seem as impossible? Do you personally want to make possible in the future in the field of cognitive neuroscience?
I think one thing that is from what I have experienced, presently impossible thing is making things available, making skills available to all, and especially to children, as we are perceived as. But as youth or as teenagers, we bring a lot of energy on the plate. When we join universities after our schools and, junior colleges, we are like, we are on fire and we just want the correct direction for our fire to be directed. But if that youth energy is not directed well, they just go to wane and we struggle there later on in our lives. So that's what I experienced with myself, and my mentor, my present day mentor, gave me the guidance that I required as an undergraduate to develop skills that I'm using today as a professional. I want to establish a lab, firstly, where I provide opportunities to undergraduate students where they can study, they can learn everything that is required for them as an individual, right? Whatever they want to learn. And then I can direct, and or maybe my lab can direct them towards doing that particular thing using their existing skills and talents and their power. And most importantly, self learning is very important skill that many of the students bring. They just do not know where to use that self-learning skill, right? Because there is no good content. I mean, we are all online. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of feed, but we do not always know where to feed, what to feed our brain, in fact. So I think to create those kind of things where we make the schooling, we make the grooming of our future generations so restricted to research, or maybe so restricted to what they are made for, as we call it. I really believe in the idea that we all are born with some inherent skill, some inherent attraction to one thing or the other, and that is what creates the balance in the world. Maybe if I and you were not interested in the field of neuroscience, how would we be having so much of development in the field of neuroscience? Who would be doing it if we were not born with the interest? So I think everybody who's born with the skill, who is born with the talent and the attraction towards the field, they should be nurtured that way. So that's how we bring on the combination of nature and nurture together to create better persons of the future. And yeah, as a person, as an academician, if I go on to complete a PhD, I really want to do something which is translational and which is the need of the hour. Right, our field is a little subjective. We look towards the future, but what about the present? If we are not able to preserve our present, how about the future? How is that going to be happening? So I'm still looking for a very translational problem that I can work on, and I'm taking my time in the research field to explore ideas, and let's see what I come up with.
I wish you all possible success with finding what you want to do and implementing it. I'm sure it will be absolutely amazing and it will create a great impact on the world and people around you. Manvi, you have beautiful ideas, you have wonderful energy to implement all of that. If people want to connect with you, Manvi, how they can do it, and maybe you can also tell people where they can find the videos, the material that you are posting. You mentioned YouTube, so can you give all that information to our listeners, please?
Surely, surely, why not? I mean, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I try to be active on Twitter too, but that gives a little political view of the world. So I try to avoid Twitter. But LinkedIn is my go to place, and I'm available as Manvi Jain. If you type Manvi Jain, I might pop up. But if you're not able to find that, just type neuro along with that, and you'll definitely get it. Right? So yeah, that is where I am available most of the time. You can totally contact me there. If not, just email me at manvijane65@gmail.com. And my YouTube channel also is Manvi Jain. And if you're not able to find me, just type Manvi Jain, EEG, and you'll get all my videos there. So I think that's the way you can contact.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Manvi. And the last question is, what can you recommend, suggest to newly aspiring cognitive neuroscientists who are just getting into the field and they will be going through the journey that you already completed, at least to your bachelor's? What would be your one main piece of advice?
So, as I have mentioned already, I will always favor everyone who is entering this field to pursue research if they are meant to be doing that right from the first day. Either you do it by reading papers or by discussing your ideas with a mentor or with your colleagues. Just do it because doing it will make you learn it. Otherwise, there is no way to do it. There is no way anything can be fed in your brain. So use your energy well. Do not try to, waste it along other ways, but try to use it the right way, direct it in the right way. And your energy is the key to anything that is going to come up, in your way. You will be able to tackle every problem if you have the right positive, optimistic view to that particular problem. So always be focused, always be enthusiastic about things that you're doing. And if you're not able to find that enthusiasm in the things that you're doing, just don't do it because, you know, there is something else for you then. Just try to learn everything right from the first day. And that's how just be limitless. That's what I would say.
I love it. Wonderful suggestion.
Yeah.
Let's be limitless. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Manvi. It was such a pleasure to have you on this podcast. Thank you for all your inspiration to people, to students who want to pursue these careers. I wish you all possible success in your career, and hopefully we will meet maybe in 2 years or so in this podcast, and you will have much more things, already new things
Yes.
to tell us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. And thank you, really, really thank you so much for inviting me here. It was an honor to talk to you. And I read about your degrees, about your work, and your initiatives. They're really, really amazing. I think people like you are making the field alive and enthusiastic. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Manvi. Thank you.